Well, Nessi and Lino, thank you so much for joining us on fairly short notice and fitting this in. We're really grateful that we can have this conversation with you before you take some time off, which I'm sure is well deserved.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
And so this is Angus's first meeting with Nessi and Lino, and I'm the one that participated in your Vocal Odyssey workshop a couple of weeks ago. And I reached out immediately afterwards because I was so impacted by my experience with you. And I'll share a little bit of backstory so you know, because you don't know this part of it. But Angus has teased me throughout our relationship about being tone deaf, and he was meaning it in a very lighthearted, very British English way, maybe the teasing. But I took it on some level quite personally and realized that I just stopped even experimenting or exploring my voice, and I'm not blaming him. I'm sure there was conditioning in there already that connected with what he was saying, but I didn't realize how that is such a vulnerable, profound, playful, fun part of myself that I really hadn't been exploring. And it was a friend of mine, or a friend of ours, who took one of your other workshops and said, Rohini, I kept thinking about you when I was doing it. And so I went and looked, and I just signed up right away. And it has really opened up a deeper connection with myself through just that one weekend. And Angus was saying, just as we were, having our little preamble before we started recording, that I've been going around the house humming and singing, and you haven't been complaining, which I think is also good.
Well, I'm kind of somewhat dismayed at this friend of yours who suggested that you should do this workshop. I'm worried that you might have painted this picture of me being the great British oppressor. And I feel rather guilty now that I had that effect on you. But I will say that I have been pleasantly surprised by the harmonics, if that's the right word to use, that Rohini has managed to establish with her vocal cords of late.
And it's not about that.
I know. Well, I don't know what it's about, so I'm
So
all ears here. But I have noticed that you've been wandering around the house humming and singing, which I've actually really enjoyed.
Oh, thank you. And in terms of our work with the Rewilding, we really focus on supporting people connecting with themselves and getting back to that natural state of who they are as much as they can before all of the conditioning that we take on. And what we see in our work with couples is that when couples are experiencing issues in their relationship, it's usually a reflection of them not being connected with their loving nature and their loving essence. And then that gets projected into the relationship and shows up in the relationship dynamics. But we don't teach techniques and strategies about how to deal with communication. We really start with the foundation of connecting with self, connecting with our loving essence, and then seeing what emerges from there. And we're really clear that we don't have the answers, but when people connect with that place inside of themselves, that's when the magic happens. And so that was my experience in your workshop, was having a beautiful connection and deeper connection with myself, and just feeling the aliveness that came from that. And so Angus doesn't know anything about it, so we would love to have you share more about how you came to creating the Vocal Odyssey and what each of your journeys has been related to using sound and music in a therapeutic capacity. We'd just love to hear your story and start there, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, thank you so much for sharing about your journey with that. It's so touching to hear. And I guess, like, the Vocal Odyssey, for me at least, it started in a way many years ago, before we actually established this kind of platform. For me personally, in my younger years, I struggled a lot, with mental health. I was I grew up on a very small island, Guernsey, which is very beautiful. But back in the 80s, I just remember it being quite a challenging time and place to grow up in. And coming from a Portuguese family, and feeling very different. Even though I was born here, I always felt like an outsider. Racism was pretty, prevalent at the time. And also the addition of that, growing up within a Portuguese environment, family environment, I noticed from a young age that there were different rules for women and men. Seeing my brother have a lot more freedom, whereas I was a lot more there was a lot more protection around me. Um, in addition, also, growing up in a family where we didn't speak about our problems or issues or struggles, everything was very much swept under the carpet. So that whole combination for me just created quite a challenging environment. And from probably the age of 11, I started to feel very, just very disconnected and dealing a lot with depression. I was self-harming, and it was kind of by, I don't know, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to start singing because I think this is going to be really good for me. It was very intuitive. And at the time of probably 14, 15, I started to kind of write a lot of poetry. And my auntie had a piano at her house, which is actually here now. And I used to find myself kind of making little melodies on the piano and finding myself kind of improvising vocally. I had no technical skills or awareness of how to use my voice, but what I remember is how it made me feel. And I felt like this really contributed hugely to my healing journey, because at the age of kind of 15, 16, I actually tried to take my life, and thankfully it didn't manifest, it didn't happen. But singing for me was a really powerful and important way for me to move forward. So in a way, that journey started many years ago, and that then opened up this whole world of music therapy, which I trained in some years later in the UK, and then later on voice therapy, as well as kind of developing my own musicianship. And yeah, I guess we met some 10 years ago in Pachamama in Costa Rica, where Lino was living for 13 years and I was living for 3 years. And that in itself kind of, was a, collecting more kind of inspiration of how to be with the work. But it was only really until we left Costa Rica that I kind of had this inspiration to actually create these kind of workshops for people to explore their voice. Because I feel like it's a birthright. It's something that we all have access to, but so many of us we haven't been given the tools, or we've been told from a young age that, you're not, you can't sing, or those kind of beliefs get implanted into us. And I just feel, because of my own journey and how much it gave me, and the fact that I wasn't a good singer when I started, but the incredible benefits that I received from using my voice and moving through really dense, energy from within, and seeing the magic that happens when we can kind of channel these emotions that sometimes words don't manage to do. And in those earlier years, I was having counseling and talking therapy, and often I found at the end of the sessions all these emotions would come up from just going over that whole narrative and what I was passing through, and for it nowhere to go really. So that's my kind of part. I guess that's my journey, and yeah, Lino and myself, we kind of brought it together. I guess I'll let you share a little bit of your journey with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me it started like more kind like, I'm here because of my wife. I was You know, it's just like your wife takes you to a theater.
Angus is laughing.
I know that experience.
And you're just sitting there in theater and everything. But I mean, we met there in Costa Rica and everything, and I was for many years there in this community, which was like a sort of a living experiment, a pressure cooker of an internal work. So it was a lot to do with long silence retreats and meditation and therapy and work with the medicine. It was like a decade of my life where I was really turning up every stone and really, spending proper times in the gutter, figuring out what the hell is going on and I guess it would ask me, what do you want to do in life, or what is your story, or everything. I was it was pretty hard for me to define. And when Nessi came to my life, it's naturally kind of ignited in both of us a process of kind of self, but also mutual exploration. And in the beginning, it was kind of like, you know what, let's go on the road. I'm gonna be your manager, and we're gonna do something with this music, with this incredible voice, because I was blown away, and I had this, at one point I had this kind of a vision that we need to go on the road, and we need to do something with this. And then she came with the whole idea of the groups, and I was kind of, I was not sure about it and everything, and I had my opinions about it, and slowly I find myself more drawn into it. I think in the first group we did, my job was to be on the iPod and press play or stuff like that, or make sure that there are tissues around or something. And slowly I found myself, because I was, all of my life I was this kind of a classic repressed singer,
Mm.
you know. But I also, with Nessie, I learned a lot through our path together of like, I came close to that, and suddenly I found myself like going and properly studying it, and going to school of, voice therapy, and hunting the best teachers in the world, and crossing the oceans on and on to really meet those big masters, because I somehow found also my way in that, in a way that Nessie's approach to voice is very different than mine. She's really coming from this, these places in her life where the voice was the light at the end of the tunnel that she was clinging to. And for me, it's often related to what I explored and experienced many times, and often in big circles, the ability to be around other people, and without talking or knowing them, or how to truly embody this miracle of using your voice, and see how it melts all judgments and ideas and definitions, and you just become part of something which is bigger than you. And this is what I often try to um, offer in the groups that we do. Our dynamics is very different. Nessie has this, really kind of depth, and kind of like in her song also, something like hanging on to dear life, and for me it's just a field to explore playfulness and humor and sense of communion.
Mm.
And especially when we do this work physically, naturally online there is the limitation, but in a way we grew in a different way that kind of embraces one another. So when we do this work, I often say, and Nessie not necessarily agrees, because for her the voice is really the center of life. For me, it is like an enzyme, a channel, a bridge to something which is really big. Really has a huge potential in just making us better people. First, like you said, first and foremost for ourselves. Like when I sing, I know I'm just a nicer human being to be around. And when we sing together or in a group or something, we don't fight so much, We are just, because it has this ability to to renew things, to create new connections, neurologically, physically, heartbeat, breath, everything. It's incorporate all these elements that usually they are just running on their own kind of a automatic pilot, which is often so, kind of erratic, traumatized, aroused, and somehow communicate with those parts of us and create this, maybe create a closer meeting between all that is conscious and unconscious, and bring them together in a way that suddenly we feel, in, if we can put it in one word, we feel safe, we feel okay where we are, we can let go of all this, kind of smoke detectors or fire detectors, and just rejoice in the presence of others. And this is something that I think we all crave in life. And I mean, it took us a lot. I mean, the story and everything, like, it, it's not only the story of the Vocal Odyssey or the story of the voice. For us, it's a lot also the story of our relationship, because we had to learn a lot. We all brought good, heavy, thick, gooey luggages, into our relationship and into our work together. Like, I remember one producer, when he heard that we were working together, was like, "Oh, guys, I'm just praying for you, I'm honestly, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for everybody I know, but good luck for you." And we did went through a lot with this, but we had to kind of, we had to upgrade our game somehow in order to have space for one another, to really flower, and to really acknowledge that this creature on my left or on my right, this creature is not me. It perceives things differently. It maybe needs more time. It maybe think more horizontal and less, this is the target, this is the mountain, let's take over. It is more culturally more Portuguese, English. I'm originally from Israel. We all bring our own, kind of inherent conditionings and everything. So it was a lot about this. In the beginning, we had to, when we facilitated this work together, it was sometimes very difficult.
Yeah, we would fight a lot, but
Yeah,
not bring it into the group, but
yeah.
just not really knowing our boundaries, or like what was our space. So there was a lot of learning in that process, and to kind of really honor what the other person brings into the space. So in a way, it's like we're not stepping on each other's toes, really kind of respecting the gifts that each person brings, because like Lino said, we totally bring different things, and that, in a way it's very complementing, because it feels more round that way.
It was a work of trust and patience, basically. Mostly for Nessi to trust that there is a male figure here that is not gonna, kind of take advantage, or kind of, you know, bossing her, or manipulate or whatever. And for me, and for Nessi to trust that, and for me to learn patience, to learn that, the to even to learn the if you want to look at it in a big spectrum, the beauty and the essence of the feminine, which is so, for us the men, sometimes we don't really get it, and it's very easy for us to say, stupid, or this is ridiculous, or you know and then wow, actually I was far out, and I just, we are still going through this daily sometimes, or even, you did the online workshop. I was so against it, I was, no way I'm going to degrade our work in such way. Most of the things that I share in the groups, they're very physical. They're very much you know, into the social aspects. And I just hated the idea. And actually, in the first online workshop, I was suffering all the way through. It was very difficult for me after like the second one or the third one, I was like, actually you were right. It is working and people receiving a lot. And my resistance was completely, like you said before, it was my own process, bringing
Mhm.
my own insecurity, my own nervous system, trying to create safety, even, in the price of, you know, not exploring necessarily or possibilities.
Yeah. I'm just blown away by how many parallels there are in terms of uh, how it is to work together as a couple, what we've experienced, Angus feeling like he got kind of roped into this work by me. So it's lovely to hear your journey. And I definitely want to hear more about the personal side of things too, but I'll turn it over to you, Angus.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I'm starting to be struck by, and I might be going off on my own unique tangent on this, I don't know, but I think that one of the things that we were always taught with the understanding that we teach, and particularly for the teacher where this all started, would talk about, or would do seminars and would come up with a statement: don't listen to my words, follow the feeling. And there's something about what you're suggesting, and this is how I'm hearing it, that following your intuition and allowing yourself to express yourself from that place, there's sort of no sort of intellect involved. It's just a feeling, which I'm sure is universal. And I'm sure that if you can kind of come together as a collective and experience that feeling and embrace that feeling, I'm sure magic happens. So that's kind of like, I'm kind of starting to feel excited by what you're pointing to. If I'm on the right track here, I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, for me personally, it's always been about feeling, and following my feeling and following that gut instinct. It's not really intellectual, and at least for myself. And yeah, like whenever, when I suggested like the Vocal Odyssey in the beginning, you mentioned how you had some doubts about that, and it was until we did the first one, you're like, wow, actually this is powerful, this is really powerful, and you got really excited about it.
I mean, it was these moments in life that you're kind of witnessing something, and you know that, okay, things are going to change from now on. This was the first time we did it. This was that feeling for me, because I could see. For me, it was. I always felt good in the group structure, being in a room and doing some things together, and allowing this kind of a raw vulnerability to be expressed. But what really kind of nailed it for me was the element of the voice, because in a way, it's so much fun. It does so well for us from beginning of times, like Nessi said before. It's just I think something that we hold all the time together in these groups is the wish that we will come back to that, come back to singing, as this individual society, everything, that it won't be anymore this privilege of those with the beautiful mics and sound equipment and lights and sold out venues and everything. But we'll just sing our way through this life, because my curiosity was always about this search, or about our inner geography, how. And I'm still working with that. I'm still very much kind of always checking in our workshops what was happening there, because I guess it's coming from my need, to pour some meaning into this life, first and foremost to myself, and of course for everyone that takes part in it, So when we are doing this workshop, in a way, when we started to do it, we were. It's changing a lot with the years. It's changing because I think something in us is softened more, and is kind of, we understand more. We don't understand the big picture, or we definitely, especially nowadays and everything, but we do understand what we need as individuals, but also what probably many other people need in order to have in order to breathe fully in this life and just feel comfortable. And when you are in this state of okayness, you can move forward. You can move forward into relating in a good way, healthy way. We both had like years of pretty, destructive, abusive, you name it, relationships. I don't know if Nessi will agree. I know for myself, but our relationship, in a way, we came so exhausted, to our relationship. I was
38.
38. She was 30.
No, 29.
29, and I was so beaten by life. I was just recovering from a relationship where I was ready to jump from the cliff. And then I met her right after, and we were, in a way, we were so humbled by life, from all this kind of torturing, full of drama, gone with the wind kind of relationship, love me, leave me, blah blah blah, playing the whole human game. So we were ready to learn about relating in a healthy way. We both had our good dose of, like, rough childhood. Let's call it this way. No anger towards anybody. It was the way it was, and there was also a lot of love there. But there was the good doses of trauma, neglect, abuse, all these kind of things, intentionally, not intentionally. But it's just created this way of relating that I can say for me, but maybe Nessi could also say for herself, that it was constantly a source of pain, a source of lack, a source of desperation. And when we met each other, at one point when the Vocal Odyssey started to kick in, we had this concept that we need to split our ways when it come to work, because I was her manager and she was the artist, and that was a nightmare. Because she was I saw her talent, and I knew that this is like rare, and I was ready to kill for it. And she was very kind of still insecure, still kind of looking for her way, and I was ready to book her God knows where, to get her everything. And this conflict, it brought us to the edge somewhere when we were living in London, 2015 or something, where we really had to do a good soul search. We went to therapy with this, we did therapy with psychedelics together. We really went deep into remembering why we are together, because this didn't work. And it was a lot to do with me, in a way, with my own ambitions, my own wounds, my own wish to prove myself to the world through this little golden chicken that I found. So but and then it was funny enough, because we came also to the idea that I need to find something to do. I don't know, maybe I'm going to go work in an office, God knows what, do something like related, be a taxi driver, God knows what. But life wanted something different. Because then we saw, when we are working together, there is something that is being created that is bigger than our individual self, and I started to get really obsessed about the voice because of her. And I just couldn't believe what I saw, what I experienced as a humble disciple of this instrument, not as a teacher even. I went to Bobby McFerrin. I went to all these giant masters, because I really wanted to, and I could see the alchemy, the magic, that is so, in a way, effortless, because it's built in, it's here. There is no need for it's just a lot about just softening and feeling the togetherness and being gentle with one each other. This is something that we always emphasize about the Vocal Odyssey. It's not this kind of group like, you can do it, go for it. It's not about that.
It's not about improving your voice.
Yeah, and
it's beyond. It's
yeah.
beyond. It's even beyond singing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even like to say it's all, because singing is an element, but it's also just reclamation of our voice, whether it's speaking, whether it's just giving a sound to an emotion. It's not even about sounding beautiful. Of course, if there's beauty there, but for me, the voice, it's beyond just singing. It's like that connection to something bigger. And I always feel like once we're able to kind of soften the mind, because in the beginning, the mind can kick off and start judging it and go, oh, what are you doing? I can't sing, I'm not good enough, or whatever our defaults are. And for me, like, the voice is the way to the heart, and when we think about the heart, Osho spoke about this in one of his what do you call it, satsangs, discourse. And I'll try my best to kind of remember it, but kind of saying how the heart is like, when you think about falling in love, it's like that sense of losing control. You can't be in control when you fall in love. You can't, the mind wants to control everything. It wants to measure everything. It wants to have a plan. But when you really follow the heart, it takes you into unknown territory, which can be really scary. And for me, it's like the voice. The voice is the connection to the heart. It's like a surrender. It's almost like a death. Yeah, it's learning how to die in that moment of stepping into this vast, space, where you're just kind of being able to let go of your pride or whatever is like protecting you. And for me, it's like a mirror as well. Like, the voice is a reflection of where we are in this moment. We know that when we are in conversation with dear friends, they could be saying to you, yeah, I'm good, but from the tonality of their voice that they're not good, that they're actually struggling in some way. Their words are saying one thing, but the vibration that they're sending is informing us, or informing you that they're needing some support or whatever. So the voice doesn't lie. So that's why when we do this work, we incorporate so many different tools, and really, it is about feeling. It's about tuning in and deep listening. It's not just listening with your ears, but really feeling with your whole body, and giving this space for people to connect to their voice, because we can learn so much about our expression. For me, that's, at least, that was really what the voice gave me. It gave me confidence. It gave me a sense of power. It gave me the ability to express the unspoken, and help me feel a sense of connection to myself, because in those earlier years, it felt like my spirit was just like all over the place. And the moment I would give sound to my inner landscape, it would just be pulling all these fragmented parts back into the center and making me feel whole. It's, and again, not focusing on trying to get it right. Often, sometimes people think, oh yeah, I'm going to do this workshop because I want to learn how to sing, when actually what they receive from the end of it is singing to learn about themselves, that connection to themselves, like, who am I? What do I want? What are my needs? And I feel like the voice can really reflect that back to us in such a beautiful way. But, I think the most important thing is creating that safety, first. And that's why playfulness is so precious. And Lino brings this amazing quality into that, that playfulness, that joy, that, that helps the mind just to kind of soften and feel that sense of safety and trust. And then we can go deep, then we can, I mean, I guess it depends also on what each person brings, because each person will receive this work completely differently. But yeah, feeling is so, feeling for me has guided me through life, that not knowing, okay, I don't really know where this is going to take me, but this is what's pulling me, and I got to follow that, you know. And it's the same with the voice. I don't know where my voice wants to go, but it's pulling me into a direction.
Also, this element of feeling that you shared about is so much kind of the the pool that we drink from, because um, our on the other hand, the pool of knowing or having answers is pretty dry for us, almost intentionally, because we honestly don't know necessarily. And especially when people are coming here, I don't have the I don't feel that I have the skills or the right, or or if I don't have their shoes, so it is very, what we are really trying, and also where we are sharing about this work, even in the words in the website, also when people come, is that it is it is not so much part of a you can say a new age kind of menu, in the sense of you're gonna come and then you're gonna get this and that, and you're gonna get your understandings, you're gonna get your bliss, you won't have any trauma, and there's gonna be another 2 zeros in your bank account once you're back home. And we really don't know all that, and it is a mystery. And in a way we are not going so much in this work into, of course there is a lot that people can share, and it is super valid and welcome, when someone in the group open her mouth or his mouth and share for the first time about something very significant or very intense, that happened. It's super precious, but it is not, we're not going to use this as a mean to fix anything, because we honestly, we don't know in that sense, and we don't have the answers. We just 100% sure about the power of the voice as an alchemy, as a kind of a sonic medicine, and, and it's not, like I said before, when you shared, it is so much about like kind of a daily anchoring into that in any way possible. It doesn't need to be even through the voice, but which is something that we are often struggling with, like Nessi needs to push me, come on, let's do now 20 minutes of this or that, or we are also human beings going through dancing with resistance, and all the habits of being in this imperfect body, mind, and everything. But potentially it can open a whole new world of like a new software, a new perspective, a new angle, a new horizon to look at, rather than being focused on that which keeps on kind of nagging us and everything. And it's true that I see that once we do the work in real time, in real moment, if you're gonna ask the person, many times, where is your trauma now, or where is this, where is this rage now, or this sense of helplessness, whatever. And I know it from myself. Once I'm in this space, it is not there. What is there is this sense of aliveness. I remember when we started to do this work, sometimes we were ending a day or in the middle of the day, and we were going to a room just to kind of talk about, okay, strategies, what's next, a little bit kind of like a timeout. And we were so high, like like on drugs, like we were just like buzzing, like whoa, like this. Just from voicing, singing, it is an ancient medicine. When people were in concentration camps, they were singing. When people were enslaved, walking in, how you call it, shackles and this, they were singing. not only in marriages and in, ceremonies where we're all kind of riding the
Mm-hmm.
horse. So we just believe in that. Other than that, we are, I guess, as clueless as everybody,
Mm.
especially in these times. I have to say that you're speaking to us now, relationship, all that, and this last year and a half was definitely our most challenging one since, like I told you,
Mm-hmm.
2015 and all that. The house that you see on the back here, we were stuck here for weeks, unable even to leave the house, little child, and we really had to dig deep in order to go through that.
Mm.
There were moments that we were looking at each other and like, who the fuck are you? You're really like, you don't know anymore. You just kind of, you are
Mm.
so disconnected from everything that is kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So it was really like talking now. I think in the last weeks or so we feel like a little bit, at least me, a little bit like the inner spring is coming
Yeah.
Mm.
after a long winter that. And by the way, it brought again a lot of this old stuff. Sometimes I was so on the floor. I was really like, I felt like it is probably the first time in my life that I'm dealing with depression.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
As a result of everything was taken away from us,
Mm.
all our good life, our traveling in the world, facilitating our work. Like, what else can you ask for? And at one point, boom, welcome to COVID world.
Mm.
And it took me some good months to handle that, and sometimes I was just, I was as functional as a piece of furniture here. And and uh, and and that brought a lot of insecurity also, because the fear of abandonment and being left alone and being unloved for who you are. It's something, like just yesterday I said to Nessi something and she got really hurt about our child and this, and you could see immediately that it's a you know we always have this fear of not being, good enough for my partner, or good enough of a mother, or all these kind of things that, if we are conscious enough to catch it on time, and if we are not carry the grudge for too long, and if we're not kind of, going into this corner. I think this is what maturity, maybe you can also join us in this, that if you're not reacting to that, and if you're growing through the relationship, that slowly after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, it's becoming more and more kind of like, you soften these edges as a mutual cell. You know how to reach back. Yesterday it was her turn to reach back, yeah. Sometimes it's my turn,
Mm-hmm.
because the love is there and the love is so strong. Sometimes you're so angry, you're so hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's I mean, you've said so many amazing things, but just to pick up on that last point, that I think people think that when there's a healthy relationship, that those things don't happen.
Yeah.
And that's just not true. The healthy relationship has the depth of love in it. And it's really about the bounce back, like you're talking. It's not that it doesn't happen, but we just get better at waking up sooner and reaching out and accepting the reaching out more easily. But there has to be room for our humanity in relationship, and relationships, in my experience, especially in our relationship, it can be incredibly healing, but it's through that arising. It's through having the experience of it arising and living through it and learning each time something new can be there. And I also fully agree with what you're saying about the mystery of, when people come to us, we don't have their answers,
Mm.
but we know that their nature is love. Like, that's what we know. And that if they have a taste of that, they're going to find their answers. And so all we can do is point them in that direction in the best way that we can. And in your work, that was what I experienced, as you were using the voice as a way, as a portal to connecting with that mystery that's within.
Yeah.
And when we touch that place, miracles happen, magic happens, but we don't know what that's going to be. And it is a real surrender, like you're saying. And I want to, I mean, I resist the surrender, but I want to surrender. Like, it's that dance of being human. It's terrifying, but it's also amazing every time I'm able to do it. And to have that experience that you've created, the intention around safety was so clear. And I think whether it's in a workshop, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a work environment, that isn't really understood, how we as humans don't live often an experience of inner safety, and the negative impact that has on us when our nervous system, as you're saying, Lino, is aroused and we're defended, and it just feels normal sometimes. We don't even realize that we're not fine. Like, as you were saying, Nessi, you asked your friend, how are you doing? Like, I'm fine, but you can hear in their voice they're not fine. They might not even know that they're not fine. And so whatever ways we use as humans to come into the present moment and to have room for all of us in our experience, not just the intellect, which is so focused on in our day-to-day things that we have to get done, but to incorporate all of ourselves, our spiritual nature, but all of our human nature, our feelings, not just the deeper feelings of our true nature, excuse me, but the emotional landscape of who we are. So it's just beautiful to hear both of you talk about the things that we talk about, but in the way that you speak to it, because it might be pointing slightly differently, but it's absolutely pointing to the same place.
Yeah, I'm really struck by the parallels, and I reflect on how in the way that you're talking about this, that the voice, in the way that you might use it intuitively, kind of allows you to come into resonance with your feelings in a way that you get to not engage the intellect. It's kind of like, I was thinking about, there's a lady that we knew that did an improv class, and it was called Improv as a Path to Spiritual Enlightenment. And I think that the essence of what she was trying to achieve is, like, in improv, you don't have the luxury of, like, you know, listening to the filter, listening to the noise of the intellect. And I think this is taking it a step further, because you're doing something that is natural, kind of giving voice to a feeling that allows you to become so much more in tune with your own psychology around that feeling, which I think is really profound. It never occurred to me that that would be a possibility on that level. And I think that's really exciting, because I think quite often we encourage the people that we work with to sort of to get in tune with their feeling, use the feeling as an indicator for your state of mind. And if you get into a habit of allowing yourself to express your state of mind through voice, then you'll get so much clearer around your state of mind. I'm sure that must be a good thing. Yeah. I can really see the benefits of that.
Yeah. And it's sort of also through that connection with the emotional experience, you tap into that expanded state of consciousness too. Like, that's why the two of you are high when you're doing your workshops.
Yeah, I totally see that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is when you're singing or voicing for some time. There is I mean, on one hand, on the social aspect of it, you know, if you're among other people, your heartbeats will synchronize,
Yeah.
and your breathing, your everything, all the physical activity become like one, you know. But also brain waves wise, and all these things were
like altered states,
heavily researched. You know, it is like it gets trippy. You know, it's just so. It's just I guess it's the most available, you know, harmless psychedelic, you know, that there is in the market, you know, cheap. You know? And it's just about, you know, especially in times like this, where it's really like, you know, I was sharing a little bit about what I was passing through, but we're getting a lot of people writing to us naturally because of the workshops, and because of, you know, because also we did this work for the last 7 years. So and you know, this was our family, is our family, you know, all these people that we met from the Middle East to the US and Canada to Australia to Africa to Central America, where Europe, wherever we did this work, you know. So in the last year and a half, I received so much. I mean, in a way, you can call it bad news. You know, people are just, you know, in hard moments, separated, and people are, you know, relationship breaks ups because of this kind of condensed reality, and a lot of sadness, a lot of grief. You know, people losing their ability to express their gift and everything. And we kept on saying in these online workshops, guys, you know, this is not like now a privilege or anything. This is a necessity, you know. Just keep singing, keep this flame alive, whether you can meet with one friend or two, or whether it is Zoom or whatever. I always say, like, whatever we are sharing there, it is not a certain, you know, someone wrote yesterday, asked for us to do a teacher training, and I wrote, teaching what, you know? This is not like, you know, what is the Vocal Odyssey? It's just a, you know, it's just a collections of things that helped us, you know, of moments of you know, anything that eased the road for us. It is not a dogma or a school or anything. And you know, it's just a reflection. And so in a way, you know, keep on doing it wherever you are, whatever you are. This is like I, you know, the human spirit as individual society is how you say, on a brink.
Mm-hmm.
This is serious what is happening, and some places you feel it more, some places you feel it less. It's a very also an individual process, you know. It's easy to say we are in it together and all these cliches, but no, some people are really like, they don't know where they're gonna get their food tomorrow to their kids, you know. Others are more privileged, and there's nothing good or bad about it. It's just reality, you know.
Yeah.
And when we are sharing, when we are talking to the people, and this is also a process we did with ourselves, looking, you know, reflecting on this last year and a half, and all the ideas and opinions, and what is happening and what is not happening, and I'm right and you're wrong, and all that. At one point, I think we really got tired from this, and we're just looking at reality, and we ask ourselves, what can we do? What can we all do now in order to somehow lift, you know, the human spirit in these times, you know, that you know, that nobody will fall in between the holes of this crumbling blanket, you know, because it's really, it's so rough for so many of us. And you know, loneliness, you know, if you want to break the human spirit, if you in prison, you put the guy in the, how you call it,
Isolation. Yeah.
yeah, that's how you break his spirit. This is like the ultimate punishment. And whether it's the right thing to do now or not, we're not going to go even into all this, but in general, you cannot ignore or deny are the consequences. And I think that in these times now, if we could connect through our voice and sing together and lift each other up, then we will manage, you know, this dark night of the soul. You know, the sun is coming at the end. It's just a matter of you know, some
Well,
buckets to fill up.
I love that you use that term sonic medicine, and that's obviously what you created. That sounds beautiful.
Yeah. And then Nessi, I also wanted to check about your music, because you have, is it, I don't know if it's a new, I was reading in the bio, it says you have a new album. I don't know if that's recent or is that up to date?
2016 was my debut album. It's like
Old bio.
5 years ago.
No, but she released some songs a few months ago.
Yeah, some singles.
Oh, beautiful. So we'll make sure to include that information in our show notes so people can access that as well, because you do have such a beautiful gift. And I think both works really complement each other, but
Yeah,
just
definitely.
listening to your music is a treat. So we want to make sure that our listeners can have access to that as well. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to say before we finish up? Is there anything else that occurs to you?
Anything?
I spoke so much, baby.
I feel like we shared quite a lot. I feel like we've said everything now.
Yeah.
Unless you think there's something else.
No, I just I'm very grateful for this opportunity to express that, because I do feel that these are special times, you know, and I often I whether I go through some challenges or whatever, or little things happening, then I hear some stories and I'm like, whoa, you know, I really pray for people, you know, for all of us, and you know, that I I love the online workshops, you know, and I learn to you know, evaluate them as something that really shares something that of a meaning. But I can't wait. I mean, we're praying. We have 2 retreats in Greece in September, October. God's will.
Yes. Yeah.
1 week. That this is kind of like, that's something that we wait the whole year. You know, like every year. We love it. Like we go for 1 week with a bunch of 20 people, and we just, you know, throwing our watches and
I love that.
just
Getting on the spaceship.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Sounds
this is
amazing.
supposed to happen in September, October, but before we were in a, you know, COVID reality and all that, we did these workshops in
Everywhere.
you know, even in the US, we had a whole month and a half that we shared the workshops a few years ago, and I would love this to come back, because I really miss this human,
Yeah.
you know, human beauty.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope that you come to LA, or we get to travel to one of yours somewhere else. I can't wait to do an in-person one. Yeah, looking forward to it.
We love it.
Yeah.
Angus, come.
I'm so down just from having this hour with you. I'm so intrigued, and I want to learn more.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody else will feel this way that's listening to this too. Yeah.
And it's just beautiful to be able to share something that is such a simple way of settling our nervous system, reconnecting with ourselves. And as you both said, that you get along better when you're vocalizing and singing. Like there's just those natural benefits to relationship when we give ourselves that natural expression that's right there. We don't need to go anywhere for that. So it's such a gift.
Right with us. It's there from day one, you know.
Yeah.
We all have access to it.
And it's so easy to overlook. How, speaking for myself, it was just something that I was overlooking. And it was such a blessing for myself to just reawaken in that way and realize how much more alive I felt. And I don't know if we've been getting along better, but maybe. We'll see on the long term.
Yeah, we'll see.
You know, we say we sing to be happy, you know?
Yeah.
We think to be happy, because when you're happy, you can start to take care of the mess, you know?
That's right. That's right.
You have like more of a kind of a good attitude to figure out stuff.
That's right.
But that's why we sing to be happy.
Yeah. Takes us back to love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, you know, the one thing about this path is that you don't need to have any experience. You know, people can.
Doesn't matter how it sounds.
Doesn't matter how it sounds.
Really.
You can have literally no experience, and you're just curious about your voice. You know, the power of your voice, all that energy, what it holds. So it's really open to everyone. You know, it's not about needing any kind of, okay, I need at least 3 months preparation. No, come as you are. Sometimes not knowing is the best.
Yeah. And I think that's how I showed up. Sort of, I didn't look to, I just knew, I felt like, oh, this is something that would be good to do. And then say, oh, this is what this is. and to feel the smallness of the smallness of my voice in terms of my self-consciousness and all of the thinking that I had on it, that how that was impacting it. And then to gradually feel oh, there's more energy opening up here. I'm not so timid, and it's okay to be with that vulnerability and the tears or whatever comes forward. It's just so beautiful. So I'm incredibly grateful.
Tears are the best.
And then you can take that understanding to other areas of your life, you know, so it's kind of giving you this, you know, it's like further understanding or accessing other layers of our consciousness, and finding these tools of how to apply that to not just our voice, but how we are in life, how we can take that on our journey, and
yeah, the ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for being with us. Just so grateful, and looking forward to more to come.
Yes, thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you guys. Hopefully hug you soon.
Yeah, I hope so too.